All right. Let's go ahead and get started. I have two distinct honors right at this moment. The first is to welcome all of you all to our Global Conference on Environmental Justice, where we want you to, I appreciate the good energy that I'm picking up from the room just watching you. I want that good energy to continue throughout the conference. But now I would love to introduce the Carl W. Knobloch Jr., Professor of Evolutionary Ecology. I'm sorry, I'll get it right. Ecosystem Ecology, and the Dean of the Yale School of the Environment. And I really apologize for messing that up. Because if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this conference is that the concept of ecology is actually critical. It's absolutely critical. I am not an expert in it in the way the dean is, but it is about systems and the way they function. So let's pay attention to that too. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dean Burke.
That's my friend Gerald. Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Yale School of the Environment and to the 5th Annual Global Environmental Justice Conference, the second of which has a theme of joy, environmental joy, and it's sponsored by the Yale Center for Environmental Justice. I'm so thrilled with all of you being here today. It's really wonderful. I want to begin our time today by acknowledging with recognition and respect the people for who so long stewarded the land and water here. We're here on lands that have been cared for and called home by the indigenous peoples and nations such as the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Pugusik, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac, among others. These communities have been stewards of these beautiful lands and waters across countless generations, and it's in their honor that we express our gratitude and respect for the joy and nurturing that these lands and waters continue to offer us. The mission of our school here is to promote the sustainability of natural resources, and so it's appropriate that we honor those who have stewarded and sustained over the millennia not only these lands and waters, but also those across the globe. Here at the Yale School of the Environment, we've woven environmental justice into the fabric of our mission, in our teaching, our research, and in our everyday actions and conversations. This international conference has become, over 5 years, crucial to our work here, convening those who are dedicated to the field of environmental justice. We owe a great deal of gratitude to Graciela Chichelniski for working with us to conceive of this conference and for her unwavering support of this conference for the past 5 years in honor of her daughter, Natasha Chichelniski, who was a strong advocate for international environmental justice while a PhD student at Yale. We're also grateful to Jonathan and Deanna Rose and the Waverly Street Foundation for support of the conference, and let's not forget the many institutions within Yale who've supported our cause for this conference, infusing our initiatives with perspective, depth, and richness. A number of these institutes co-sponsored the event, including the African American Studies Group, the Institute for Sacred Music, the Whitney Humanities Center, the Law, Ethics, and Animal Program of the Yale Law School, and the School of Public Health's Center on Climate Change and Health. But the organizer of the event, all the calories that went into this, was the Yale Center for Environmental Justice, which brings together the Yale School of the Environment, Yale Law School, and the Center for Race, Ethnicity, and Transnational Migration. The Yale Center for Environmental Justice works to create synergies while advancing scholarship, teaching, and outreach on environmental justice, pulling together incredible minds from across Yale, including, I think, over 35 faculty members and researchers committed to studying and advancing environmental justice. Our school has built great depth in environmental justice following a strategic plan that highlighted environmental justice as a major initiative. In just the last few months, our school has created not one, but two new endowed professorships in environmental justice. The Wangari Maathai Chair, presently held by Professor Dorceta Taylor, and the Dolores Huerta and Wilma Mankeller Chair, presently held by Professor Gerald Torres, from whom you just heard. What these endowed professorships mean is that our school will forevermore have senior faculty working on environmental justice. That's a little hard. In addition to these two faculty members, we have Professors Michelle Bell, Amity Doolittle, Justin Farrell, and Narasimha Rao. And they, together with Dorceta and Gerald, have developed robust courses, fostered discussions, and hosted explorations in realms such as environmental health and justice, energy justice, indigenous knowledge, tribal co-management, and more, each contributing to a richer, more nuanced understanding of environmental justice. It's a crucial time for action. Summer 2024 was the Northern Hemisphere's hottest on record, at 1.52 degrees C above average. During the same months, it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere, and that was its warmest winter on record at 0.96 degrees C above average. The European Union Copernicus Climate Change Service has just forecast that 2024 will be the first year in which global temperatures are indeed 1.5 degrees C above pre-industrial levels. That's the threshold that countries agreed that the planet should avoid crossing, because over that amount, the Earth will experience irreversible damage. Human fate rests upon the fate of the planet. Underserved populations all over the world are already suffering from high temperatures and lack of access to sufficient water, to clean water, clean air, and other resources. Suffering cannot help but lead to geopolitical instability. Near-term action is crucial. And while it's a crucial time for action, the likelihood that our nation will lead has just declined precipitously. It's a pivotal moment for the environment, for biological diversity, and for environmental justice globally. Because policies and practices here affect the whole world. And it's paradoxical to have a conference on environmental joy, given what has happened this week. But look around at this audience. Here today, we bring together all of you as scholars, practitioners, and advocates dedicated to advancing global understanding and global action to alleviate suffering and enhance well-being, making the world a place where life in all of its diversity can thrive. Take comfort and even joy in the camaraderie, the will, the determination, and the potential for collaborative strategies and solutions. Our conference and our work on environmental justice is about both intellectual pursuits and about action. This group joining with us here today, together with a large and diverse international community, can lead together with energy and with determination towards a just and thriving planet. We can take joy from working together, creating a canvas of our collective wisdom and knowledge, and asking the important questions and being strategic, focused, and yes, optimistic because of one another. We can engage willing partners from across the spectrum of society, from individuals and communities and tribes, from neighborhoods and cities, non-governmental organizations, state and local and international governments, and yes, businesses who have a will to pursue a just and sustainable society. The people and organizations represented at this conference here today each bring legacies, innovation, and momentum that the world vitally needs right now. With that, let me now introduce Dr. Michel Gelobter, the Executive Director of the Yale Center for Environmental Justice.
Thank you to our dean for showing her heart this morning, the one we all feel for sure. I want to introduce, I found out a couple days ago that Terry Ogawa, who is one of the leaders of the United Church of Christ region in this area, and was one of the first climate justice fellows in something we started in 2001 called the Climate Justice Corps, an organization I used to run, was going to be here. And so we asked her to start us off a little bit. So please go ahead.
Yeah. While I leave room for a wide expression of beliefs, I don't know about y'all, but I am coming here with a certain amount of grief this morning. And as I sat with a number of my faith leader friends, because friends are what got me through the last few days, I was reminded that grief and joy are connected. And should that feel incongruent, just remember that we carry grief in community. When we grieve, it's an ingathering of all those we have known our whole lives. It's a moment to share stories, to share food that's prepared with love. And if y'all have ever gone through deep grief, you also know it's a moment to laugh in surprising ways. It's okay to find humor in dark places. And indeed, it's sometimes one of the only things that can get us through. And when we gather in such ways, we are reminded that we are held by a love that will not let us go, that is bigger than ourselves, because we carry forward the gifts of all those who came before us. We are called to protect those who need us to journey together to do this good work. And we cannot do this alone. We have not come this far to turn back now. So I invite you to take a moment. Pause, close your eyes if you feel safe to do so, or find a point on which to focus your eyes. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the chair supporting you below and your back. Relax, roll your shoulders. Come into your breath. Call to mind all those who have helped you become who you are today. Give thanks for your ancestors, your families, chosen and of origin. Think of all those who mentored you, who took a moment to pause to see who you really are and to help you grow. I invite you to say their names aloud or hold them in your heart. Adora Iris Lee, Dr. Charles E. Cobb, Bunyan Bryant, now think of a gift that they gave you that allows you to sustain your hope, your faith, your joy, your resilience, and your love. And I invite you to share a word or phrase that embodies what they taught and gave you, either silently to yourself or aloud into this space. Community building. Now I invite you, as you are ready, to open your eyes. Look around. Stand up if you need to. Look around and catch the eye of as many people as you can. Gratitude for all that you have taught us or will teach us. Gratitude for this time together. I am so thankful to be here with you and that you are here. Beloved, we have all that we need, which is to say, each other. May we covenant to be careful and caring of one another. May we covenant to listen with curiosity and openness. May we covenant to claim the joy that our ancestors hope for us. May we be rooted and grounded in love in all that we do, for it indeed is the force that will carry us through. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. When I heard she was going into the ministry, I was like, oh my God. So we're so lucky to have her doing that work. That was just the beginning of the spiritual work we'll be doing here. In every session, there will be a moderator, a leader at the beginning. If they could stand up or raise their hands, a spirit leader. We did this last year. Sam King was here last year. Evan back there, and I think there's one other I'm not seeing. Keep your hands up for just 1 second so people see you. You'll see them at the beginning of each of your workshops with a designed exercise for each session for the first 5 minutes or so to ground us in the work we're doing in the sessions. There's also a joy team who put together some amazing things. Are they here? Can you raise your hands? Just little snippets of stuff that'll be happening. All right, well, they will be around. I hope Ebby's in the room, right? Is Ebby in the room right now? Could someone just shout for him so I can acknowledge him early on? Thank you. You know how conference organizers can be. So we have a joy team. They're probably out there creating joy as we speak, God willing. I know some of the tricks they're going to pull on you, but they will be there. We have our advisory board, the Wise Center for Environmental Justice is here. Michael Mendez, if you could raise your hand. Tamara Tolsa-Laughlin may not quite be here yet. Asia Dakoto, are you here yet? Yes, there she is over there. We're blessed to have their support, and many of them will be playing roles as your track leads. The non-advisory committee member who is track leading is Phil Thompson, Professor Phil Thompson from the Department of Urban Planning. I think I knew him before he was a professor, but I didn't know him. He was actually a revolutionary for a while, y'all, just so you know. Like they did the 40th anniversary of Asian Americans, 50th of Asian American, a radical Asian American group, and they honored the founders, and 3 of them were Chinese women, and 1 was Phil Thompson. So he was doing that 50 years ago. Pretty incredible. So I want to thank each of you for showing up today. We weren't sure, we planned for something after the election, and we're really blessed that people still want to do that thing. So we thank you very much for being here. Couple of quick rules. We think people should follow we would like you to follow what we call Chatham House rules, which is sort of an academic or old British way of saying, you can talk about what you learn here, but do not attribute it to anybody. I'm just going to say the 2 most important things. And in general, people speaking are not speaking for their organizations unless somehow they say they are. They're speaking for their individual views. We do have some people here from government, including the federal government. So you can imagine some of the situations they're going to be facing over the next few months. There is at about 4:30, we have a 45-minute break break, but there's an optional How Can Yale Help session. Natalia Turkel, one of our alumni who helped pull this together, pulled together 4 of the centers at Yale, including the Yale Center for Climate Change and Health, the Yale Program on Climate Change Communications, our career office, and one other group that I'm spacing on, I'm sorry. They'll be in here to talk about the kinds of resources and the ways in which they'd like to partner. They partner with communities and can offer help to communities. And then after that, we'll have a reception with music and singing and art, rather extraordinary in the back room. And then that'll end around 7:30, and at about 8 in the New Haven Hotel, most of you are staying within walking distance of that, we have a room that ended up looking like a poker party without the chips and cards last year, and where we'll have endless amounts of New Haven's most famous product, pizza, and drinks and things like that from 8 to 10, and just come socialize and be loose down there near where you can go back to your hotel comfortably. So we hope you'll join us for that as well. So I realized last night that the speakers this morning, on the panel this morning, and me together, Peggy Shepard, Richard Moore, Gerald Torres, represent 4 of the 9 authors of an essay we wrote 20 years ago called The Soul of Environmentalism. Almost to this day, 20 years ago, we released that essay. It was an essay released, it was about how deeply transformative the environmental justice movement was and had been. And these days, I'm working on a sequel inspired by the folks who've come to this conference, The Joy of Environmentalism. And I'm going to write that essay this year for sure, before the end of the year. And to be honest, just like at this conference, there'll doubtless be a lot of sorrow in it. It was never going to be a completely happy essay. Sorrow about what we've already lost by digging up 300 million years of sunlight and burning it back up into the sky. Sorrow about the lives we lose from toxic pollution that burning creates. Sorrow about the lives we lose from the wars we fight to get that oil. And sorrow for all we are losing amongst our relatives in nature, and the land even, as that itself is at times burning or washing away. Ishtiaq Ahmed, one of the presenters at our conference this year, told a story last night. Speakers and the presenters got together to think about how to be great today, and I think they will be. Told us a story last night of a man he'd met in Bangladesh who had lost everything, who was sitting on the bank of a river. I couldn't believe it as he was telling the story. I spent a semester studying the book of Job, and I felt like he was just reading straight out of it. Not just a few months or a few weeks before he met him, the man had lost everything years before in a cyclone. His cattle, his land washed away, his house, he'd lost his wife. And the day he met him, there were dark clouds on the horizon, and the man was triggered by dark clouds in the sky. He said he felt like he'd lost himself and that he'd wished he'd died back then. Every time dark clouds appeared on the horizon, he was overtaken by a dark cloud himself. And Ishtiaq doesn't know what happened to that man, but what happened to Ishtiaq was a commitment to work so that we can all understand that loss and damages aren't just about property and cattle, but that without strong action of prevention, of investment, of care, we stand to lose our very selves when the land washes away, when our animals go away, when our beloveds go away. And this, paradoxically, is where Ishtiaq finds his joy, in the work that helps people keep their very selves. The joy I find, too, stretches back in a similar way to my father, who managed Shirley Chisholm's campaign for president while I watched at 11 years old. My joy also, paradoxically, stretches back to his childhood, spent hiding in Poland as a Jew from 1939 to 1945, to how he found a way to keep himself through that, and then to go beyond himself to a life devoted to politics and organizing and raising me and my siblings to do the same. I wish it wasn't so, that there will be a lot more of that kind of work in the world, and again, paradoxically, a lot more joy available to those who do it. The joy of environmentalism is, among other things, about that persistence, about all the terrible things we are working to shed. And it's also about those other, simpler, good things we do dig up every day. I don't know, like blueberries. I'm just in awe of blueberries right now. When I see somebody taking a crate of blueberries out of the back of a delivery truck, I think, how many blueberries are there in the world? Right? How many blueberries are there created by the sun and the earth? It's mind-boggling, just blueberries. The joy of environmentalism is about how much environmentalism shows us the ways we are all enmeshed in the most miraculous ways with each other and with the earth. It's about how we cannot deny racism that shows up even in our water. It's about how we cannot deny sustenance and freedom that is as close as the tables of food out in the hall, which will be refilled, the libraries and the books down the hill, and the looks that we'll be giving each other every minute of this conference and every minute that we sit together in solidarity. This conference series is about making visible all the joy that we sometimes cannot see because it is masked by the sorrow of how we live today. The work we do at Environmental Joy is to make plain the joy, the resilience, the innovation, and the power that environmental justice communities create every day. And this year, this massive electoral year in particular, we hope that we can share together and make that plain, that we can make plain the opportunities and hope we see coming, that we can make plain the directions that we will be heading in and the actions we'll be taking. The things we know will one day, near or far, after many tears or few, bring fresh blueberries to our lips and broad joy to our souls. Opportunities, direction, and action, what we're hoping we'll talk about at this conference, what we're all here to explore and to share. Let's get to it.